Hi 6th graders, today we're taking a look at rotations. By the end of this lesson you want to be able to graph rotations on the coordinate plane. So this is the last of the transformations that we're going to be talking about. So first of all, a rotation occurs when a figure is rotated or turned around a fixed point. It does not change its size or shape. One thing we can look at is rotational symmetry. So rotational symmetry is when a figure can be rotated a certain number of degrees about or around its center and still look like the original figure. And then the angle of rotation is the degree measure through which the figure is rotated. So we want to look at the following figures and figure out if they have rotational symmetry. And if so, we're going to name the angle of rotation. So with the square, we can kind of look at that it has 4 equal parts to it. So out of the 360 degrees, every time we rotate it 90 degrees, it's going to have rotational symmetry. So if you were actually going to physically take the square and turn it at 90 degrees, it would look the same. So then if it's 90, it's also at 180 and also at 270 degrees. On our hexagon, because it's a regular hexagon and each angle is the same, each time we can rotate to a new corner on the left. So there'd be 6 sides. So this one has rotational symmetry of 60 degrees, 120 degrees, 180 degrees, 240 degrees, 300 degrees would all be rotational symmetry. The heart, while it is symmetrical, when you rotate it, it will never look the same. So this is does not have rotational symmetry. So first let's start out talking about how you can graph a rotation. First you are going to graph the original figure. After you do that, you are going to sketch a segment using a straight edge from one point of the original to the point of rotation. In this case, at your age, it's all going to be around the origin, which remember is that middle point on our coordinate plane. Then you're going to sketch another segment so that the angle between the original figure and the new point matches your rotation. So you'd have to measure out a 90, 180, or 270 degree angle, or 60, or whatever else it may be. Then you have to measure the distance between the original point and the origin, and then use that to determine the distance from the origin to the point on the image. And then you're going to repeat that step for any other points of your figure. Sounds super confusing, I know, but I will show you in class. Lucky for us, there are, however, some rotational shortcuts that will make your life a little bit easier when you're figuring out rotations. So if we are graphing a clockwise 90 degrees rotation, your xy becomes y and the opposite of x. So your ordered pair flips around and then x becomes its opposite. Now if it's a 90 degrees clockwise, this would also be equivalent to a 270 degrees counterclockwise. Okay? To graph a 180 degrees rotation, your ordered pairs just flip around and they both become their opposite. And 180 works either way. To graph a 270 degrees clockwise rotation, which is 90 degrees counterclockwise, your xy once again becomes yx, but this time it's your y that's opposite. Now using this information, we can graph triangle ABC and its rotation after a 90 degrees clockwise rotation. So we have A, B, C. A starts out at -4, 1. B is -4, 5, and C is -1, 1. I'm just going to go ahead and graph those original points for us. So -4, 1, is A, B is negative 4, 5 is B, C is negative 1, 1. That's C. Now we're going to graph it 90 degrees clockwise, so I'm going to use this setup. So A prime is going to switch y and x around. The y stays the same, but then your x value becomes its opposite. So if it was negative 4, it becomes a positive 4. B prime then would be 5, 4. And then why don't you go ahead and try C really quickly on your own. Hopefully you got that C prime is now 1, 1. And we're going to graph these points. So we have 1, 4. We have 5, 4. And then we have 1, 1. Now keep in mind this is not a reflection, it is a rotation. So it's like I took my paper and I turned it. So this would be A prime, this would be B prime, and this would be C prime, which is actually another way that you can do it is by using tracing paper. Make sure you write down any questions. Like I said, this whole thing is kind of confusing, and that's totally okay, and we will go through this more tomorrow.